Welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV screen to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. Welcome back, people. Yes, that's right. We're here. We're ready for anything. And we're speaking English better than ever before. Damn right. Here we all are, back in the saddle once again. Okay, so we finished our huge, massive, ginormous, enormous, gigantic, super-sized revision. And now we're back in the saddle, back in the driving seat, back on track, back on the yellow brick road, without Elton John. And I can't see Dorothy or Toto either. Never mind, perhaps they're late. Okay, so it's time to ask that question again. Gods of English, are you ready? I can't hear you. Now, listen to me, hear me, follow my instructions. Fill your lungs with as much air as you can. Suck it all in. Pack as much nitrogen and oxygen into your breathing apparatus as you can. And get ready to shout, scream, shriek, yell, holler, and bellow your answer. This time. Now, come on. Prepare yourself. Pull yourself together. Pull your socks up. Pull your finger out. Take a deep breath. Make this the biggest breath in the history of your pulmonary airbags. And let me hear you. I'm here in the studio asking you the question of the day. Are you ready? Now that's better. That's the answer I was looking for. Good. So, I'm ready, the crew's ready, Chobber, the sound engineer, possibly has permanently damaged hearing, and you're all ready. So, what are we waiting for? Let's make a start. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to get started today with something which isn't 100% new. We met this a few weeks back, but I want us to look at it again. Do you remember what we learned about comparing things? Yes, of course you do. Well, we know that with short adjectives, those adjectives with one syllable, we make the comparative form of the adjective by adding ER to the end of the adjective. Cold becomes colder, and tall becomes taller. Fine. We also know that when the adjective ends in vowel plus consonant, we have to double the last letter before we add the ER. So big becomes bigger and hot becomes hotter. Great. Now, we also remember that if the adjective ends in E, then we don't add ER, we only add R. Nice becomes nicer and tame becomes tamer. It would be silly to try and say something like nicer or tamer, wouldn't it? We also know that if the adjective ends in a Y, then when we make the comparative form, we replace the Y with IER. Steady becomes steadier, and trendy becomes trendier. So, we also know that there are a couple of irregular adjectives. Now, this is a bit of a problem, but it's not a really big problem, is it? With irregular things in English, we know that we can't follow a pattern. There isn't a pattern. So, what do we have to do? That's right, we have to learn them. It's simple. There's no choice. Learn them and remember them. And that's it. So we know that good becomes better. In addition, we also know that well also becomes better. Besides these two, we know that bad becomes worse. Okay, great, fab. Now we also know how to make comparative forms for adjectives which are longer. When we're dealing with adjectives with 2 or 3 or 4 syllables, then we don't change the base adjective in any way. No. We leave the base adjective and put more in front of it. This way, the comparative form of interesting is more interesting, not interestinger. And the comparative form of the adjective approximate is not approximater, but more approximate. Good, great, green, grey, gravy, groovy. Now, we know that we often use comparative adjectives with the word than. It makes it simpler for people to understand what we're comparing. If I tell you that I'm more intelligent, then that's only half a sentence, really. There's a big question hanging in the air. We're left hanging, expectant, waiting for the rest of the information. More intelligent than who or what? We need to finish the sentence. We need to provide the rest of the sentence with than something. Otherwise, it just sounds unfinished. Now, if you remember the first time we met the comparative, we learned that Modi is 42 and I am 46. This means that I am older. Now, in this example, we have a complete idea. We know who I am older than. We introduced that idea first. We told everyone what we were comparing. Ages. Muddy's age and my age. So that sentence, that idea is complete. Now listen if I just say the than version without giving you the complete sentence. I am older. Do you see? Did you hear how strange that sounds? It's a half-finished sentence. We're waiting for the other part of the sentence. We feel that we need the other information. Taller? Okay, but taller than what? Taller than who? So it sounds much, much nicer, much more normal when we make a whole sentence. When we use than to make the sentence whole. When we complete the comparison by telling people what we're comparing. So, let's just listen to a few examples. Listen to the difference between these sentences. Just listen to how unfinished the sentence sounds when we don't give the information about what the comparison is. This car is smaller. I am uglier. This is more expensive. He is slower. She is more careful. Now, did you hear how the sentences sound? Well, not finished. We expect to hear the other part of the comparative sentence. Our brains are waiting for the whole idea. We expect to hear smaller than something or someone. Now, listen again as I repeat the sentences, this time with a complete comparison. This car is smaller than the other car. I am uglier than George Clooney's dog. This is more expensive than a Louis Vuitton suitcase. He is slower than a one-legged cat. She is more careful than her brother. Now, didn't those sentences sound better? They did, didn't they? That's the difference we made. We gave information about what or who the comparison was with, and pow! Immediately, the sentence sounds complete. Now it's a full sentence, a real sentence. a sentence where nothing is missing. It's a much better sentence. So, when we make comparisons, when we compare things, we have to remember that our brains are programmed in a certain way. Our brains are programmed to expect a comparison to feature at least two things. If we create a sentence to make a comparison, our brain expects to hear what we're comparing. Our brain needs to hear when something is smaller, taller, longer, thinner, slimmer, bigger than. If we don't say what we're comparing something to, then the sentence sounds silly. The sentence sounds half-finished. And people will look at you, waiting for you to finish the sentence. Well done. We finished that run-through in record time. And it's a good job too, because yes, you know who's coming. It's your friend and mine, M5's very own electric eel, Enid Fotherington Smythe. Come on down, Enid.
What hello, people? Hello, hello. Now, how are you all today? Are you all fine? I hope so. I'm feeling very well today. I went shopping earlier today, and when I go shopping, I always enjoy myself. I went shopping after I took Keith for his morning walk. So I was with Keith when I was shopping. Oh, but don't worry, I'm a responsible pet owner. When we're walking in the street, I always put Keith's lead on, just to make sure he behaves properly and doesn't bother anyone. Keith doesn't mind. I think he likes being on a lead. Anyway, the first thing that happened when I went into a shop was this. A shop assistant came up to me and said, "Good morning, can I help you?" You see, very nice and polite. I replied just as nicely and just as politely, "Yes, I'd like to ask something. Can I bring Keith into the shop?" The shop assistant looked at Keith and said, "Oh, yes, if Keith's on a lead, there's no problem." I said, "Thank you," and started to look around the shop. The shop assistant then asked me, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" I replied, "No, thank you, I'm just browsing." And the shop assistant said, "Okay, if you need anything, just let me know." You see, very nice and very polite, not pushy. The shop assistant asked if I needed help and then left me in peace. I continued browsing. Do you know the verb to browse? Perhaps you know it from the internet. You use a browser to browse the internet, you know. That's the sort of program you have on your computer, a browser. Now, the original meaning of the verb to browse is to look around, taking your time. There's no rush. You're just looking at what's for sale. Anyway, I didn't find anything I wanted to buy. So I thanked the shop assistant and said goodbye. The shop assistant said goodbye to me, and then Keith and I left the shop. Oh, and is that the time? Good gracious, I'll be late for cocktails with the boys. Mustache, toodaloo, pip pip, chitty bye.
And she's gone like a bolt of lightning. Okay, that's our cue too. So we'll meet again tomorrow. Until we meet again, remember to enjoy yourselves and don't forget to check out all of our lessons on m5tv.hu.